YouTube, what's going on? Today we got top 5 bench mistakes. I broke down these 5 mistakes into 3 points each for a total of 15 points. We're going to try to get this done in less than 15 minutes. Let's do it. All right, coming up with the first one, bench variation. Now, doing too much of the same lift. What do I mean by this? I'm talking about all you do is regular bench press. All you do is flat bench, right? You don't do no other movements, right? You never change your width. You never do anything on like secondary, tertiary. Even if you bench 4 times a week, you never do that, right? You just always do the same bench. Now doing too little of a lift. Now, this is if you're always doing a slingshot bench. If you want to grow your regular bench, at some point you're going to have to do your regular bench too, right? You're going to have to train your regular bench. And if you're never doing your regular bench, well, you can see how that's not going to work out, right? So you want to find that sweet spot of doing regular bench, but changing up the variations of the bench as well. Days a week of benching. This is different for everybody, but some people will be benching 4 times a week when they really only need to be benching maybe 2 or 3, and they will see their returns actually diminish, right? They won't be getting what they want out of it because they're benching just way too much. And now on the same side, people are worried about getting hurt, stuff like that, which I understand, but benching sometimes 2 times a week, 1 time a week, that may not be perfect for you. Now, if you're coming back from an injury, it's a whole different story, but benching 1 time a week, 2 times a week, sometimes you can bump it up, right? That's a mistake that I see pretty often. Elbows flaring. Now, this is very, very common. Now, your elbows flare naturally when you're doing a push movement. When you're pressing with any part of your body, your elbows will naturally go out. But when this is excessive, this will kill your lockout. As soon as you get it 2/3 of the way off your chest, you'll just be done, right? Your elbows have flared. You have no power left anymore. The whole press is done. What is this caused by? Weak upper back. When I'm talking about upper back, not, sitting doing like pulls, right? This would be wide grip, pull down, stuff like that. That would help strengthen that from happening. Weak rear delts. Your rear delts are what stabilizes your elbows when you're actually doing the movement in the first place. So if you have weak rear delts, how do you expect to have a strong bench? How do you expect your elbows not to flare? And then a lack of tightness. People who just don't have any tightness at all, obviously their elbows are going to flare because there's nothing holding them in place. Up next, we got proper back tightness, moving off of just tightness overall. This one's a little bit more in depth, so stay with me. Proper back tightness is not just making an arch. Everybody wants to make an arch with the back. Arch your back, arch this, or limit the range of motion, this and that. At some point, you have to look at it and you have to break it down. It's much more than just arching your back. It's depressing your scapula. You are not just arching your back for this, right? You're not just, it's not just, let's see how if I can hold my back arch the whole time. Your back arch will happen when the squeeze is happening, right? This is why I say squeeze, not bend. You're depressing your scapula. You're pulling everything down. You need to be pulling everything down and setting it up, which will naturally create the arch, right? Maybe you can add a little bit of a bend, right? A little bit of a bend. That's why I included that there. A little bit of a bend when everything is squeezing and tight. But if everything isn't squeezing and tight, you're not doing back tightness correctly. It's just not going to work out for you. And so many people also don't realize that your back tightness is connected to your legs. If you're just not using any leg drive and you're just letting everything go, it's going to be pretty hard to keep your back tight, right? Obviously, somebody who's jacked, hits a huge back, a lot of lifters that are on steroids, right? They're not going to need this as much. But natural lifters, if you want the correct back tightness, the correct power, everything like that, staying tight, just staying tight overall, you're going to need to utilize your legs. And now you have to also find a good position for your legs when you're using leg drive, right? You need to find where your feet fit best so your butt isn't going to come off the bench and so you can just stay tight the whole bench. It's not just, okay, so I'm loose at the top, I'm tight when I bring it down, and I'm back loose at the top. No, you're tight through the whole lift when you're using leg drive. On to the next, wrist position. This one is a killer. I don't even know how many people's bench that I can tell you that I've seen has been killed because of their wrist position. Now, there's a few things that go into wrist position. So under gripping. This is basically somebody who has no idea of what's going on with their wrist. That when they bench, I can't even do it, but if you could look at me like this. This is what their wrists look like. I can't even do it because my wrists are just not mobile enough. If your wrists look like that, you need to put on wrist reps, right? You need the wrist reps. Because if you can't hold the bar and you can't move the bar with your hands a little bit, then you'll never be in control of the weight. You won't be in control of the weight. But now on the flip side of that, you can over grip the bar. You can put your hand literally like this when holding the bar. Literally like dead flat. So the bar is literally tempted to fall out of your thumb, go like this. So not only is that dangerous, but it's not going to work because you're going to have to go much further with the bar. Because if that bar is pushing too much on your thumb, A, there's a chance that you may drop it, and B, it's just not very optimal. And then going off of that is trying to manipulate your wrist leverages. Now I see so many people trying to move their hand like in towards the board, right? Or towards the bar. I can't remember the name of this grip, but so many people try that and do it wrong. They kill their whole bench press because they're trying to manipulate their wrist leverages. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's better for you to just bench with a neutral wrist. So you're not under gripping it, right? You're not over gripping it. You're not trying to do some weird funky stuff that 9 times out of 10 people are doing wrong. What you're trying to do is you're allowing a slight bend so the bar can rest in your hand correctly. And you're in control of the weight the whole time. You're not up here, you're not back here, you're not doing something stupid. You just keep it neutral, and you keep it neutral throughout the whole press. That should give you the best amount of power. And I've noticed that the biggest benchers end up benching with a neutral grip position. They're not trying to do something stupid. Being a power lifter, I forgot to fill in the third one here, but stick with me. So being a power lifter, how does being a power lifter hurt your bench press? There's a few times where it does. I'm telling you, bench only people, like if you're one of those people that only bench and your idea is if I only bench, my bench will get stronger, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're wrong. And if you've seen anybody say, oh, well, all I do is bench and my bench is blowing up, okay, ask them to go into a competition and see what their competition numbers are, right? Not what they're able to do in the gym, not how they're able to manipulate their leverages, whatever. Bench only does not grow your bench. I'm sorry. There's so many more things that go towards the bench that are not just benching, right? There's so many muscles, including your legs, your feet, your hips, your hamstrings, everything. All of that is working towards creating a press. So that leads me on to saying accessories. You need to hammer accessories if you want a bigger bench. The accessories need to almost come first. Honestly, if you want a big bench, you need to get it on your accessories and you need to take them hard for everything, upper body, lower body, whatever. If you have no leg strength, you're probably not going to have a great bench either. Seriously, because your legs are still on the ground and you're still allowed to drive with your legs. Think about how crazy it is for these guys, right? They're in wheelchairs and they're able to lay down and bench like 600 pounds. That's insane because of how big of a deal leg press is. Right? If you compare the person that benched 600 pounds without leg drive to Julius Maddox gets a whole nother 200 pounds just by using his legs. And you think Julius Maddox never works his legs because he's trying to bench 800 pounds? No, he is. He's working legs probably at least once a week. Guaranteed, right? And the third thing that I was going to say is not only does just being a powerlifter for bench hurt your bench, but you look like crap. What dude wants to say that they bench 405 but look like they can't bench 315, right? You want to look like you can at least lift something, right? Don't just be a power lifter. And for that is the end of today's video on my top 5 bench mistakes that I see. Hopefully you guys were able to learn something from this. Let me know what you want me to go over next, and until next time, Blake went signing out. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.